All rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending. What's Trending, presented by Tim Daly Ford, part of the Tim Daly Auto Group, serving Utah since 1968. Lucky 7 in a row for BYU men's basketball. They have, yes indeed, won 7 straight games, and will put that streak on the line tonight in Los Angeles against a much improved LMU team. The Cougars currently 12-5 on the season, Jarom. They're 2-0 to open up West Coast Conference play for only the 4th time in 12 WCC seasons. They're getting healthy with the return of Spencer Johnson. Maybe Trevin Nell joins the team in a few weeks. All good things, yet the Cougars remain well out of the NCAA tournament conversation. So the question today is, what can BYU do with a 7-game win streak in play right now to play themselves back onto the bubble?
Obviously, keep winning. It's just how many wins will suffice. Obviously, this week at LMU, at San Diego. Gonzaga in town next Thursday. I think even if BYU wins this week and then pulls off the big upset next Thursday, still not on the bubble per se. I think they need to play themselves still into it. You have a quad 4 loss currently as of today. You have a quad 3 loss as well, South Dakota and UVU respectively. UVU is almost a quad 2 game. Beat the Ducks recently. UVU is playing good ball.
They've won 8 in a row.
Hopefully that's quad 2 when all said and done. You probably need to keep winning. Pepperdine, Santa Clara, San Francisco, St. Mary's. If you got through January on this win streak that includes top 15 net teams currently in Gonzaga and St. Mary's, by the way, number 12, highest ever net rank for St. Mary's today, then yes, you are on the bubble, and I don't know, maybe you're in, but BYU certainly needs to go on a heck of a run here in January. The benefit is, in January, BYU hosts Gonzaga and St. Mary's. So if you're going to do it, you got to do it in January. Keep winning. See what happens. I'd like to see this team climb at least into the NIT space. Right now, BYU out of that, in my opinion. But they're playing good ball. They're getting better. They're getting reinforcements, as you mentioned. And perhaps this team can discover some consistency and continue this. You certainly need to beat Gonzaga and or St. Mary's to have more resume there, though, because BYU has one quad 1 win at this point. They're going to get a few more opportunities with the Zags and St. Mary's, but right now, nobody else in the top 75 in net. Perhaps Santa Clara or LMU or San Francisco climb into that space, and then you have some more opportunities. But obviously, you got to keep winning. I just wonder if it would take the rest of January on a crazy run.
That is, I mean, 7 straight wins is nice, right? To go undefeated through the rest of January. And just to be clear, you feel like that's just to get on the bubble, not into the tournament.
No, I don't know what it'll take to be in the conversation. Like, on the bubble means, okay, you're one of the last 8 out, right? Like, if you're like the 12th out, you're not on the bubble.
Okay, so one of the last 8 teams in on Joe Lunardi's bracketology. You'd have to be mentioned
by Lunardi. Yeah, I think BYU needs to win past Gonzaga to get into that space.
Okay, so
they don't have enough good wins, and they have too many bad losses.
Let's examine what BYU getting through Gonzaga with wins would actually mean. That would be 10 straight wins, and then you would have, in that run, wins against Creighton, Utah, at LMU, which, according to Ken Pomeroy, is a Tier B game, and it's a Quad 2 game. Yeah. And then you would have a Quad 1 win against Gonzaga. So if BYU wins 10 straight, then I think they will firmly be on the bubble, because you just look at what is on the bubble right now. Like, the last team in is USC. They are 86 in the current net rankings. They're 68 in Ken Pom. And if BYU beats LMU and Gonzaga, then the Cougars would have a resume in terms of quality wins, and then the one bad loss comparable to USC. So I feel like 10 straight wins. Mind you, if BYU does that, they would be 5-0 in West Coast Conference play for the first time ever. BYU has never started WCC play 5-0. And they would be in first place of the conference, which just sounds absurd. This team was 5-5 coming off losses to South Dakota and Utah Valley. This team had been written up. They were sub 200 in the net rankings. So to their credit, they have strung together these victories. 3 more, and I don't know how Joe Lunardi would leave BYU off the bubble conversation because now you have some quality to your resume with, again, wins against Creighton, Utah, LMU, and Gonzaga. To me, that sounds certainly like a bubble team, even with the one loss to South Dakota. Then maybe we can start making excuses for that game. Well, Spencer Johnson was hurt. He didn't play. It was just a bad.
For Q4s.
You're right. Yeah. You're right.
Q4s are bad.
Then I feel like that kind of gets washed out or scrubbed out a little bit because, like, yeah, they had that bad loss. That was weird. And then maybe the committee looks at why. Well, why did they lose that game? Oh, they had some injuries because they want to justify.
Well, not committee, just Lenardi. Right?
How does that team now all of a sudden have wins against Creighton, Utah, LMU, at LMU, and then against Gonzaga?
They'd certainly be more interesting. USC's 9-0 in quad 3 and 4. That's the difference between USC and BYU, right? BYU has some blemishes on the resume. You're going to have to make up for them. And
what if Utah only becomes a quad 2 and it's only one blemish?
One blemish as a quad 4 is a big blemish. That's a tough one. But you can make up for it. You just have to do a lot. Like it's harder to make up for a quad 4 than it is win a quad 1. Like a quad 4 is worse than the good of a quad 1. So BYU is going to have to win, and not all quad 1s are the same. A quad 1 versus Gonzaga certainly makes a national splash. That's awesome. I wonder if BYU has to also get a St. Mary's, who, by the way, is being grossly under-respected nationally. Like, they are top 15 in Ken Pom and net. Like, this team should be ranked and super relevant. We'll see how BYU matches up against the Gales, who are vastly improved and continue to be good. BYU's certainly got to keep winning. Now, the conversation also gets us to this point. What would it take for BYU to actually make the NCAA tournament? So team ranking says, who knows what this means, 76% if they get to 24 wins. Let's assume BYU has to go at least 1-1 in the WCC tournament. That means they'd have to go 13-3 in league. I just don't see 13-3 happening.
That's a tall order.
I think BYU is in the 5 to 7 loss range in league.
I picked BYU to go 19-12 in the regular season. And I still don't think I'm that far off.
Yeah, they have to win a bunch more. 13-3 in league is ambitious. I think it's ambitious for St. Mary's, who's 12 in net. Again, Gonzaga might lose a game or two. Like 13-3, they're not going to go 13-3. But it's going to be tough to make the tourney. I would like BYU to at least get to the NIT this year. BYU doesn't play games that aren't in the NIT. And then you go into the Big 12 and you try and build from there and just see what happens. But this program should never not make the NIT. I think that is a despicable season. That was the last season a couple years ago before Mark Pope took over. And that was part of the reason that it all blew up, right? Is if you don't make the NIT, that is terrible. Like, this is a proud basketball tradition here. BYU was at a point where they were pretty low, and they have climbed out of it with a nice win streak here. And perhaps the addition of Spencer Johnson and or Trevin Nell and some consistency and role definition with Dallin Hall as a starter and Rudy Williams, maybe they find it and they can get back into the NIT. They are certainly pacing towards that, but the NCAA tournament feels like a tall task. Now, what if BYU just makes a gajillion threes and wins the WCC? Yes, that's always an option, but it's also an option for Portland and Pacific. So it's silly even to
BYU hasn't won a conference tournament championship in 22 years.
Let me say this. I don't know that BYU is going to win a tourney ever again, because it's just going to be crazy hard in the Big 12. Like, that is a crazy thing to even consider. It's not about winning the Big 12, though. It's about getting to the tournament. It's not about winning the WCC. It's about getting to the tournament. You can accomplish certain goals without that. Like BYU football, yes, it'd be amazing to win the Big 12. It'd also be amazing to get an at-large and make the expanded college football playoff in the future. Whatever. New Year's 6, like, that would be amazing. That's what we're talking about. This group is getting better. That's exciting. Is it going to make the NCAA tournament? Well, they've got to win a lot more to even be considered.
If BYU sweeps the road series this weekend at LMU and at San Diego, then they will pace for something that is better than I expected. Because BYU typically drops a game or two early in conference play, and especially when they have early conference games on the road.
Tonight feels like that game. Like, BYU needs to come out a victor tonight.
This is a really tough game. LMU is a good team. They are way improved.
Typically, you wouldn't be like, yeah, LMU. Top 100 offense, right? They shoot it very well. They don't turn it over. BYU defensively is pretty good, top 50. So that's the matchup there. But BYU's got to not do what they did last year, which is go down 17. They won, but don't get in that situation.
LMU is on par with San Francisco. A win at LMU based on the metrics.
Santa Clara.
Based on the metrics, a win at LMU is like winning at San Francisco or at Santa Clara.
Those three, to me, are very interesting right now. Obviously, Gonzaga, St. Mary's, but the next other four, BYU, as you mentioned, LMU, Santa Clara, San Francisco, those are tough games, tougher than anything. Those are top 100 teams.
Well, let's be clear. We're not saying, hey, this is going to happen. BYU is going to get to 15-5. They're going to win 10 straight games. They're going to be Gonzaga. We are discussing hypotheticals, what it would take for BYU to just get back on the bubble. And because the next three games are so tough, at LMU is really difficult tonight. BYU has not typically won this game in the last few years on the road. So if they do that, then it's like, okay, take a pause a little bit and be like, have they figured something out? They win at San Diego, which is a place they have like strangely struggled, right?
And it's your final game in Gersten. It's your final game in the Slim Jim.
Yeah.
And then next year you embrace the toughest thing ever, the Big 12.
So if BYU can do this, they win the 2 road games, they start 4-0 for only the second time ever in West Coast Conference play.
That's exciting. Let's go.
Then maybe they have earned the respect and they have earned the right for us to be like, maybe they are a bubble team. If they do that, because they haven't typically done this.
Yeah.
Even with the good teams.
But you are what you've done and what you've been doing lately. You can't just ignore the bad and only embrace the good, right? BYU has some tough losses. They are making up for them, but can they make up for it with the win against Gonzaga?
Yeah, so
I don't see how you make even sniff the tourney if you don't beat Gonzaga and or St. Mary's.
You got to, I mean, one of the two. One of the two you have to have. One of the two.
Yeah.
Interesting conversation for sure.